"No, it can't be. No, it can't be," Eve cried out as she glanced through the DNA papers her husband, Felix, kept on the table. She picked the paper again, stared at it closely. She wiped her palms on her face and shook her head. "This was a lie. I married as a virgin and I have never known any other man, nor cheated on my husband. How could this happen? Who did this?" She stood still, fixing her gaze at the paper, and tears rolled down freely from her eyes. Eve was a very smart and intelligent girl whom everyone loved so much. She had never seen any problem like this, but it started when her husband returned home one day and demanded DNA testing on their children. He had seen on social media that many men were training children that didn't belong to them. Without having any cockroaches in the cupboard, Eve asked him to go ahead. But now it seemed that something more powerful than Eve had caught up with her. Did she do it without knowing? Did someone change her child? Or what happened exactly? We will find out later. Her husband had gone out to cool off after the DNA results showed he was not the father of their only daughter, Sandra. Felix had loved Sandra all his life. He had given her the best thing he could afford, more than the boys. He enrolled her in the best school in the city. Mary Wisdom Primary School was the best among the best. People always asked him why he enrolled only his daughter in the expensive school and his boys in another one. "I want her to be a great woman when she grows up, a formidable woman," he would reply. But now it seemed that he had lost everything. The same girl he was sweating to train in an expensive school wasn't his child. She belonged to another man. He ordered beers upon beers until he couldn't recognize himself again. It was heartbreaking adoring someone who was imposed on you as your child. It was more when you loved and cherished the child with all your life. It would have been better to do adoption than to face such deceit. Eve quickly picked her phone up and called her mother, explaining everything, telling her mother she had never cheated on her husband, that she didn't know how the results showed that Sandra didn't belong to her husband, but the boys did. "Eve, you are my daughter. I believe you, but Felix won't." "Nobody will believe you," her mother said calmly. "But Mama, I am telling the truth," Eve cried out, making a mad dance around the sitting room. "Eve, hold yourself together. Let's wait and see what your husband will do. I know you will never do a thing like that." But her voice trailed off. When Mr. Felix came back after 2 days, he didn't give Eve a listening ear. For what use was it when all the evidence was glistening in his front? He loved Eve so much, but the betrayal was much. After some thoughts, he called a family gathering and told them how he was done for the marriage. He explained how the result turned out he was not the biological father of Sandra, and therefore has decided to end the marriage with Eve. Eve cried and sprawled on the floor, saying that she was innocent. Some of the family members whispered that no woman had ever agreed to have cheated on their husbands. Some said that they knew that Eve had her eyes outside, that she loved men so much. Many questions were thrown at Eve, but she still maintained her innocence. She continued to say that didn't do anything, that God should vindicate her, that she had never cheated on her husband. "God is my witness, I am innocent," she cried, clutching Felix on his leg. But Felix dragged his leg out forcibly, causing her to fall uncontrollably on the ground. Eve screamed, wailed. She asked people to plead on her behalf that she was innocent. "You are not innocent. Stop abusing that word. How can you be innocent when the evidence is clear?" One elderly man from Felix's side said, "I don't know, but I am innocent." Eve cried bitterly. "I gave you everything." Felix began wagging his middle finger at Eve. "I have loved you like the way a man should love his wife. I have adored and supported you. But what did you pay me back with? You imposed another man's child on me. You cheated on me." Felix shook his head vigorously. "Eve, you are a devil for doing this to me. You bite the hand that feeds you." "Felix, believe me, I didn't do anything. Take this woman away from me before I strangle her," Felix yelled angrily. Eve's mother sprang up from her seat, went to Eve, and slowly she lifted her from the ground and took her away. Eve's father was ashamed to talk. It was so embarrassing. The next morning, Eve packed her belongings and left the house with Sandra. Eve and Felix got married 8 years ago. They were blessed with 3 children, Martin's age 7, Charles age 5, and Sandra age 3. 3 years ago, when Eve became pregnant, her husband Felix always told her that she would give birth to a baby girl. He wanted a girl because God had already blessed him with 2 sons. As usual, Eve would always say that a child was a child, the gender didn't matter. Even Miss Hope, her younger sister, also told her that she would give birth to a baby girl. Hope advised her to do a gender scan, but Eve refused. "I want to know the gender after delivery," Eve said. "I can't wait for that day," Miss Hope chuckled. Anytime Eve was about to deliver a baby, her younger sister Miss Hope was always in the labor room with her to welcome the baby. It always happened when Felix was out of the state for business trips. On the delivery day, the day Eve gave birth to Sandra, Miss Hope was on the hospital corridor, pacing up and down when sighted a pregnant woman and a nurse approaching in her direction. The name of the pregnant woman was Mrs. Rita and the nurse was known as Nurse Lisa. Mrs. Rita was in labor, but the labor pain wasn't severe like the pain she felt the day the doctor told her that she would be having another girl child. Had it been possible, she would have stopped herself from delivering the child, but it wasn't possible. Every child must be delivered. She had given birth to 3 girls. That was the reason she was having marital issues with her husband. Her husband threatened to send her back to her father's house if she gave birth to another girl. I am a titled man. My house is not a market where men from around the world would come to trade women. I will take another wife if you deliver another baby girl, her husband said to her one evening. It was from that day that Mrs. Rita started to make plans, because she knew that the baby in her womb was a girl. So she decided to go and meet one of the nurses called Lisa. Mrs. Rita approached Nurse Lisa and told her everything. She promised her 3 million naira if she can change the baby with a male baby. At first Lisa refused, but then she thought of the money involved and quickly went to work on it. So it happened that Mrs. Rita and Eve were in labor the same day and Lisa knew that. Eve had always had a baby boy, so she went to Miss Hope. I have a deal for you. We both will benefit from it, Nurse Lisa said, looking furtively at her back. What's the deal? Hope asked, still tense because her sister hadn't delivered for over many hours when she entered the labor room. She had always stayed in the labor room with her during her delivery, but it was because of the hours involved that made her come out to take fresh air. That woman over there needs a boy child, Nurse Lisa said, pointing at Mrs. Rita. And so, Miss Hope retorted a bit angrily. She is ready to pay us 3 million naira. I mean 3 million naira. For what? Wait, let me explain. Your sister normally gives birth to a boy. I want us to exchange the baby. Are you mad? Are you alright? What are you saying? Miss Hope screamed and immediately her palms went over to her mouth. Lower your voice please, I am not mad. We are not going to kill the child. After all, your sister and her husband will be happy. I know they must be yearning for a girl child. The same way this woman is yearning for a boy child. Let's do it and get the money. I don't know about you, but this country is a mess. You need to grab every opportunity if you want to make it. Miss Hope stood still. She didn't know what to do, but she knew that sister's husband wanted a girl child, so it wouldn't be a bad thing if she did it and got the money. After all, no one would know about it. I will take 2 million naira, Miss Hope said slowly. No problem. I am okay with one. Let's just do it. Immediately Miss Hope left the corridor and went inside the labor room. 1 hour after she entered, cries of newborn babies filled the air. Both Eve and Mrs. Rita delivered successfully. To Eve, she had given birth to a baby girl. Not knowing, her younger sister connived with the nurse to change her baby. To Mrs. Rita, her marriage is now secured because she had given her husband the male child he so much wanted. And to Hope and Nurse Lisa, their plans went well and they promised to keep it a secret till the rest of their lives. Meanwhile, when Eve got back to her father's house, her parents were so angry. Her father couldn't believe that a man humiliated his daughter in such a way in front, and he wasn't able to do anything. It was a shameful sight to behold. Her father, a custodian of culture, swore to see the mystery behind it. He trusted his daughter, and even trusted her more when Eve agreed to swear before the village deity to clear up the air. But Eve's mother stopped him and decided to contact her family doctor. The doctor who, after much explanation, persuaded Eve to also do a DNA test to ascertain if actually Sandra was her daughter. How could Sandra not be my child? Eve reasoned, but decided to do it just for formality's sake. When the test came out, it proved that neither Eve nor her husband were the biological parents of Sandra. Eve cried and cried and cried. She kept asking how come. But she remembered that her younger sister was in the hospital the day she gave birth to her baby. Her father contacted her husband's family and told them the outcome of the test too. They were all surprised, but Felix optioned to do it in another hospital. He did it and the result came out the same. That Eve wasn't the biological mother of Sandra. It was at this juncture that Eve decided to involve her younger sister, Miss Hope. She hadn't told her about her problem with her husband, but it seemed she was the only one with the answer. Miss Hope was outside the country completing her studies, so calling home was once in a while. She was surprised when Eve called her that night. Tell me the truth. What happened the day I gave birth to Sandra? Eve fired her question straight without beating around the bush. What? What do you mean? What I mean is that Sandra isn't my daughter. I am in our family house because my husband sent me away. I am begging you, Hope. Tell me everything that happened on that day. Hope swallowed hard and decided to tell her sister the truth. It happened 3 years ago, but for those 3 years, she had lost her inner peace. She regretted every bit of her actions. Hope told Eve about Nurse Lisa, who led her to Mrs. Rita. She explained how it happened and the reason she did. It was because she thought her husband would be happier with a girl child. We weren't brought up this way, Eve said and hung up the phone, leaving Miss Hope to wallow in her thoughts. Miss Hope regretted everything she did. Eve and her husband went to the hospital in search of Nurse Lisa and was told she got married and relocated with her husband to another city. One of the nurses confidentially gave her Lisa's number. Meanwhile, Lisa got married to a merchant. They had everything, but had no child. One day as Lisa was going to market, she was stopped by a mad woman who told her that until she confesses her sins, she will never give birth to a baby. Lisa was so afraid and kept it a secret for a long time. Which one would she confess and which one would she leave? She had done many atrocities as a nurse. That was one of the ways she made her money. One time she had also exchanged a dead child with a living child. And the worst was that no one noticed it until she left the hospital. One day Lisa was inside her room, deep in thoughts when her phone rang. Hello, please, is this Nurse Lisa of Queen's Hospital? A voice from the other end asked. Yes, how may I help you? Lisa asked. I am Eve Felix. I delivered my child at Queen's Hospital 3 years ago and I am sorry, please forgive me. Lisa cut in, begging. Eve was shocked, surprised, and dumbfounded. It meant that she knew everything she did. That was why she was remorseful. Lisa kept apologizing over the phone. I am sorry, madam. I did it. Eve requested that they see, which Lisa obliged. Lisa told her husband everything that happened that night. Although her husband was so angry with her, he forgave her. If God can forgive us, who am I not to forgive you, my lovely wife? Her husband said and lifted her up from the floor. Lisa and her husband traveled down to meet Eve and her husband. Felix and Eve involved both families to join them. Lisa knelt down and apologized to Eve. She confessed swapping her baby and told them everything. She told them how Mrs. Rita approached her and she consented to her request. She also told them how she involved Miss Hope in the act. She promised to take them back to Mrs. Rita, the woman who paid her to swap the baby. Eve and Felix blamed Miss Hope more than they blamed Lisa. If we are to blame anyone, we will blame my daughter, Hope, Eve's father said. They forgave her but involved the police. Mrs. Rita and Lisa were arrested. They confessed everything and served their punishment. Eve's husband apologized to Eve for not trusting her and welcomed her back. Lisa later got pregnant and gave birth to children. Miss Hope kept on calling her family to apologize for what she did. Mrs. Rita took Sandra, who was her biological child, while Eve and Felix took Good Luck, who was their biological child. But Felix continued to care for Sandra like his daughter. Hello champions, I hope you enjoyed the stories. Thank you for always watching and listening to our stories. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks.